Hey everyone, Shrike here, and with Girls Frontline 2 coming out in a few days, I wanted to help some of you prepare for what we'll be seeing in the ways of combat and banners and such. Now, I've never played XCOM or the first Girls Frontline, so some of these things may seem obvious to you based on your experience with those, so just bear with me. Before I go any further, if this is your first time here, welcome to the channel. I'm Shrike. I cover gacha games. The extent to which I cover them will largely depend on whether I think it's worth my time or not. So if you like gacha games, or this game in particular, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of my videos. First of all, most of this info is coming from Pridewind's Girls Frontline 2 site. Super helpful, but not everything is finished, but they're adding more each day. I'll have a link to the page in the description below, and a huge thanks to them for all their work compiling this stuff, especially since I know they're also working on other games at the same time like Ash Echoes. Though maybe it's a different team for each, either way, excellent job by them. But let's get into it. The first decision you'll need to make before you even get into the game is what server you want to enter. Note that only Dark Winter will be released on December 3rd, and Howplay shortly thereafter. But it's important because you cannot interact with anyone from the other server, so choose wisely. Most people are probably going to choose Dark Winter server just because it will be the first one released. I know I will be. Okay, so for starters, this is a turn-based tactical role-playing game, where you move along a grid like in Sword of Convaleria and utilize stamina like in Sword of Convaleria, but your surroundings play a much larger role than it. There's line of sight mechanics, as well as cover mechanics. Cover comes in two flavors, half and full. Half allows you to vault it, and full you can only peek and attack. If you're in full cover, the enemy will be unable to target you, and likewise, if they're in full cover, you won't be able to. If you can target them, however, then damage is guaranteed. There's no dodging or any kind of chance to hit. Instead, they have damage mitigation in the form of shields, or stability index as they call it. So utilizing cover effectively will be crucial. Along the same lines, high ground will be a very effective tool to use, as having high ground allows you to completely ignore any cover or shields the enemy may have. Another way to ignore stability indexes with AoE attacks, though cover will still play a role there. Also, in addition to regular cover, there will be two kinds of special cover, in the form of bars that you can shoot through but not move through, and energy cover that you can move through but not shoot through. The battles themselves will be instanced, just like many idle games, and will offer an auto feature for those of you that like those. Though I'm unsure yet if it will offer a sweep feature for the many supply stages you'll be grinding each day, such as in-depth search, equipment analysis, cognitive configuration, targeted study, or the standardization sync, which has a limit of 2 times per day. And what gacha game would be complete without its ascending tower system, in this case in the form of peak value assessment? Let's talk about movement now. Your action points are what will determine how many spaces you can move in a given turn, and unless an ability states otherwise, attacking will end the turn, so attacking and then moving will not be an option. A limiting factor for your attacks will be utilized in the form of confectance index, which you can think of as ammo, but traditional ammo and reloading for that matter won't exist in the game. So that's one less thing to worry about while you're plotting out the best positioning for your units. And speaking of the units, you'll be deploying 4 to 5 tactical dolls, as they're called, in order to battle for you, and they come in 4 classes: Bulwark, Vanguard, Support, and Sentinel. The Bulwark class is your standard tank that acts as your front line and provides various defensive buffs for your team. The Sentinel class is your standard DPS that provides damage for your team. The Vanguard class is your standard scout that acts as a sub-DPS for your team, as well as having the most mobility of all the classes to perform flanking maneuvers. And Support class is your standard healer buffer that provides healing and various buffs for your team. And independent of those classes will be the doll's equipped weapons, which will always be the same type, though you can switch between different weapons of that type. These weapons range from melee weapons like swords to a variety of guns, including handguns, assault rifles, light machine guns, shotguns, submachine guns, and sniper rifles. And each weapon will be able to be customized with different skins and attachments. The currencies in Girls Frontline 2 are credits, your paid currency, Sardis gold, used to upgrade weapons and dolls both, and finally collapse pieces. These are your gems, and will be used to summon on unlimited banners. And tickets called access permission will be used for the standard banners. And speaking of gacha, let's jump into banners. Much the same as games like Genshin Impact, you'll have the standard banner, the beginner banner, and the limited character banner and the limited weapon banner. The rates for most of these banners are as follows. SSRs, 0.6 base drop rate for tactical dolls and weapons, 0.3 base drop rate for tactical dolls, 0.3 base drop rate for weapons, 1.89% overall drop rate for tactical dolls and weapons. For SR, 6% base drop rate for tactical dolls and weapons, 3% base drop rate for tactical dolls, 3% base drop rate for weapons, and 13% overall drop rate for tactical dolls and weapons. The limited weapon banner, though, has its own rates. SSR, 0.7 base drop rate for the weapon, 2.18 overall drop rate for the weapons, and SR, 7% drop rate for the weapon, and 13.57 overall drop rate for the weapons. The beginner banner differs a bit from the other, but in the same way other beginner banners do if you're familiar with them. You can only pull 50 times on the beginner banner, but you're guaranteed to obtain an SSR within those pulls. You cannot do single pulls on the banner, you can only do multiples of 10, however you will receive a 20% discount each time you do that. So it will only cost you 8 standard permissions instead of 10. These are the SSR dolls that will be available upon release on the beginner banner. These are the dolls that will be available from the standard banner. And at the time of release we'll have 2 limited banners, one with Suomi and one with Ulrid. I'll look deeper into them in another video, but apparently Suomi is a crazy busted support unit, so if you're going in blind and you just need some direction, that's probably your better option. Other than that, pull whoever you like. Though for you re-rollers, note that Sabrina and Peritya can be acquired free by playing through the game, and apparently Vepli is already power crept by SR unit Lotta, who can be obtained from the first event on global release. But if you're still determined to reroll, here's the process. Log in through email option or guest account, complete stages up to 1-2, where you will unlock the gacha. Claim your mail rewards, use all codes available, use your pulls. Repeat steps 1 to 5 until you're satisfied with your results. And here are some quick pros and cons for each, courtesy of Pridewin. Feel free to stop the video as you see fit. As far as pity goes, each banner has its own, and the limited pity carries over to the next limited banner, or if there are 2 at the same time, they will be shared between the 2. Every 10 pulls you're guaranteed an SR, and every 80 pulls you're guaranteed an SSR. Soft pity starts at 58. The limited banner does indeed have a 50-50 system, and if you miss it once, you are guaranteed the rate up character the second time. And the standard one has a neat feature that after 260 pulls you can select one character from the banner, though only once, so make it count. The limited banner usually lasts about 3 to 4 weeks, and when it's finished, unlike some games, the character will not be added to the standard pool, so you'll have to wait for a rerun banner if you don't get her in time. If having 2 banners simultaneously at release makes you nervous that they'll try to rush content to catch up with China, who's a year ahead of us, don't worry. They've confirmed their intentions to maintain a 1-year gap between the versions, which admittedly does take some of the mystery and sense of discovery out of the game, but any of you coming from Sword of Convalaria know how much of a pain it is to play catch-up. The banners go by so fast and you never get enough currency to be able to get every character. The whole thing feels rushed. It's not a good thing. So I'll take a little less surprises as a trade-off. Plus, they don't need to do everything exactly the same way, so there may still be surprises. Okay, combat, dolls, banners, servers, rerolling. I think I covered the basics. There's a lot more, but you'll learn it as you go. Hopefully this at least helps you get started on a good foot. I plan to get a video out before release regarding the 2 upcoming limited characters, if I can find a reliable source for their kits. So stay tuned for that. I'm gonna fly. Thanks for watching. Bye!